Effram in Missouri.
Hey.
Effram in Missouri. You're on the line with Jimmy and Jovan. What's up?
Hey, how are you? I was noticing your topic there, and it was talking about Christianity and MAGAs ruining America or something like that. And
hey, before you get into it, this means most of the calls, by the way, are coming from my side because they all keep referencing the title on my screen. I just want to throw that out there. I'm winning. Go ahead, continue.
Wait. Did you think that I was not content to exploit your labor as a white guy? And your
you're right. Shit, you're right.
I'd hire you as a promoter too. Like, absolutely. Hype man. What other racist things can I say you would be great for over here?
Sure, you're a rap ad-libber.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna start this call over so the clip can start here. Lucan, if you get the name tag ready. Effram from Missouri. You are on the line with Jimmy and Jovan. Effram, what can we do you for?
No, I always think it's interesting that, especially folks that claim to be Christians, with all the different denominations out there that just wear this title as Christian. And it's so interesting to me that just from a logical standpoint, how can everyone claim to be Christians yet at the same time believe in different things? And like your questions to him would be so easy to answer if like he knew the Bible. Like if you questioned about Islam or something like that. I mean, it's very clear that in Christianity we don't believe that Islamic people are going to be saved. We don't believe that Jews are going to be saved. We don't believe in any of that. And that's, I mean, a person is coming from the Bible. Now, you can challenge it and say, well, I think you're wrong. But, I mean, you just a cursory knowledge of the Bible, you all know it's true. In fact, denominationalism is actually preached against in the Bible. So some of his questions were very difficult to answer because it seemed like he was vacillating, trying to play both sides to say, oh,
no, well, I think they were hard to answer because they're uncomfortable and revealed holes in the logic. Because there we were having a discussion about basically what can't you believe on faith and whether or not we need more faith in America and more Christianity in America. So Effram, would you say we do need more Christianity in America?
Not the form that we have now, no, because I don't call that Christianity. I think it's people in the denominational world who are Christians, if you will, meaning that they're claiming a thing called Christianity, but what, like your point, they're not even coming from rules of logic and reason.
Sure.
It's just,
and I think that's a feature, not a bug.
I'm sorry?
I think that's a feature, not a bug. I think that's the point. I actually think that the Bible, being so open to interpretation, you think that it's clear, but scholars don't agree with your idea that the Bible is clear on a lot of issues. In fact, that it is clearly the case that there are parts of the Bible that are meant to be taken figuratively and meant to be taken historically, but it doesn't make clear which parts are which. In some cases, there are a few things that are clear, but then other things that we know nowadays, people do take literally. For example, Effram, do you believe that the story of Moses was a real story from history?
Yeah, but you said a lot, and then you ended up with
I'll get there.
You actually made you made a rhetorical argument. What you did is you made a claim, and then you stated a question to support your claim. You didn't support your claim. First, I would object.
And you're going to get to. Effram, you're going to get to. Hang on. You're going to get to make all of your points, but you're right. I made a claim. Now I'm asking a question that is going to illustrate the claim. The story of Moses would be such an example.
You're violating rules of logic. No, you don't assert something and then ask a question and then make some
logic. What are the rules of logic?
Well, that would take
too long. If you want to go down the road, go down the road.
Only thing I would argue.
What do you mean it take long? There's only just three of them.
Let me make this one point. The thing I would argue is that you made an assertion. You said scholars say this, scholars say that. The reality of it is that that's not true, what you just said. I'm saying what I'm saying is that the Bible.
What is untrue about what I said, Effram?
Well, what I mean is that the Bible is the one book that actually interprets itself. The reality of it is now I'm saying you can agree with that or disagree with that.
I violated the rules of logic, and then you violated the rules of logic because a book logically cannot interpret itself.
I know.
So you are either invoking magic or you are yourself violating rules of logic.
I know. That's my whole point. I'm saying the Bible is the one book that claims to be inspired. There's no other book that claims to be inspired. That's my whole point. I'm glad you picked up on that.
The Book of Mormon claims to be inspired. The Book of Mormon claims to be inspired, and Mormons claim that the Book of Mormon is the most perfect book.
Right, but then you have to go out and you have to prove it. See, that's the great thing about proof. Now, I will agree with you. There are things in the Bible that people do interpret differently. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. The problem is that do we have the latitude?
For example, since you interrupted me making this point earlier, I'm now going to make it even at the cost of interrupting you. You admitted that you believe the story of Moses, but all anthropology and archaeology and scientific foundings point to not just that the story of Moses is unlikely, that it's basically impossible. The group of Jews that supposedly were being enslaved in Egypt didn't exist in that part of the world at that time at all. And there was no Jewish enslavement in Egypt anyway. In fact, the people who built Egypt, that the story of Moses credits for building Egypt, were not slaves. They were engineers, very highly revered, and are in many cases buried in the ceremonial tombs that supposedly these Jews were building for them. So there's an example of a story that all of the science and the logic says in defiance of, and you're sitting there and going, it was wrong of me to say that scholars do not agree that the Bible is straightforward. Then you say it interprets itself, which is a logical contradiction, but you also believe in the story of Moses as a literal history, not one of the stories or the parables, despite the fact that all evidence points to the story of Moses and many others, Adam and Eve, all the science points to impossible. The Noah's global flood, impossible. And yet, which of these will you believe are literal story, literal history? But then you're going to try and say logic and science and logic against me. That's not how this works.
Okay, let me ask you a simple question. This is a mathematical question. Very simple.
Great.
If hold on a second. If
I'm holding on.
Okay, are you holding on? Okay.
Oh yeah.
If God, whatever you want to call God, I believe the God of the Bible. Would you agree? It is logical that there is something that must always have existed, that could not have been created.
That always must have existed. Would I agree on the basis of like common sense?
No. I'm saying. Do you agree? Hold on a second. Do you agree? Because this is the logic. This is the theory of infinity, meaning that I'm just saying, and this is posed a question by an atheist, which I believe it takes more faith to believe it. So here's the question that you cannot answer. Hold on. This is a question you cannot answer.
No. You hold on for a moment because you have been leading up to a question. You're taking too long, but you just said, which I believe there's more faith. Then you don't know what faith is because, first of all, you don't believe in atheism.
No. Just answer. This is a simple question because you went on and on. I mean, we could to debate a person about.
You were 90 words in a simple question.
No. What I'm saying is, one scholar says the flood existed. Another, I could go back and tell you people who believe that it did exist from archaeological study, but I don't even want to go that far because you don't have to.
No, I do.
I just ask you one simple question that you cannot answer.
Right, go ahead.
The question is that no, hold on, because you claim to be a logical person.
Don't say hold on when I say go ahead.
Question.
Just ask the simple question.
I've already asked it. I said, do you believe that there is something that must have always existed that was not created? Okay.
Probably.
Then if
it was not created, I think everything wasn't created.
That logically follows. Now the only thing left, since both of us agree with that, the only thing left for us to decide is what it is. That's it. That's the whole human experience to try to figure out where we came from.
Hang on, Effram. Since you talk so much, I'm now going to respond.
No, you talk so much. I'm trying to ask a question, and it's a very simple question.
Oh my God, Effram, I will mute you if you don't behave. Goodness sakes, Effram. When you say something, but now we just have to decide what there is. So yes, we can go to it. And I'm going to go with the science, which seems to suggest something like quantum vacuum is the thing that always existed, that prior to the Big Bang, there was this thing that some people call the singularity, but I'm not a quantum physicist, so I won't pretend to understand it. But I will say that this system of science, which has been producing all of this amazing shit, including the means by which we are talking right now, The consensus over there seems to be some kind of eternal something, but then even the concept of time breaks down because time is an expression of the Big Bang. So talking about time before the Big Bang becomes somewhat meaningless anyway. I don't resort to a conscious entity was creating something, that we are the purpose, that we are the goal of something out there. And that is the thing where I'm sitting and going, I will pick up whatever science is saying we have a pretty good idea about and say, I'm probably going to side over there, even if I don't fully understand it, because they have a great track record, but I won't claim a knowledge of it. Against, I feel like there's this guy and he for sure created the universe. These are not on equal footings. And you said you don't want to get into the evidence because a scholar believes Noah's flood happened, which a scholar is not who I would consult about Noah's flood anyway. And I would like to get into that, because if you can prove to me that within the last 10,000 years, a global flood engulfed the entire world, as the word global denotes, most of my worldview gets completely undermined and destroyed, and I would need to change.
Well, but here's what I'm trying to explain to you. I'm trying to explain something, a very simple concept. And what you do is you're kind of flooding the zone with questions actually that don't really even matter as it relates to faith. It really doesn't matter, because I let you go on. Just what I'm trying to.
No, you don't understand. Only I let anybody go on because this is my show. So you didn't let me, but I am giving you the space.
Right. Well, I thought you were being polite and you were being courteous.
Great. Your mistake.
Okay. So all I said is, when you ask a philosophical question like I ask, and it seems as though you and we agree on this, it's that there is something. Now, I'm not. I didn't even go as far as to say the meaning of it. I'm just trying to prove a simple point, and that is that there is something that is eternal. Now, the Bible gives its explanation of what that eternal thing is. You, on the other hand, and others have taken other positions on what they believe that eternal thing is. That's the only point I was trying to make.
I already picked up that point and pointed out to you that our position on what that eternal thing is. Excuse me. Yes, I did. And I'm going to repeat it, and you'll recognize that I did. I already said our positions, just because we both have a position, does not make them equal, because they are not equal. Yours is dramatically inferior.
No, I agree with that. I didn't say we're arguing about the argument.
Jovan, I'm trying to ask you a question.
I didn't say it was on equal footing. All I said is that you believe in something eternal. I didn't say it was on equal footing.
Effram,
so what I'm saying,
Effram, can we just take this back a couple of steps? This is Jovan speaking. Can we just take this back a couple of steps? You and Jimmy both agree. Something probably had to have existed, right? Like the universe probably didn't come from nothing, or, there might have been something that predates the universe, or that something must have existed. There must be some constant in the universe. Your claim is that constant is a God, and specifically a Christian God. Can you prove that?
Now, what I would do for my proof is I would use really one argument, and that is moral relativity, moral relativism. So I will use one point. I'm not going to use the things in the Bible. Well, let's say Noah's flood and things of that nature, because in the natural world, there are a lot of things that aren't explained if you logically follow. So I'll give you one example. Let's say if all things are constant.
Just talk about moral relativism, please. Just talk about the moral relativism. Well, that's what we're just focus on.
Well, what I'm saying is the gentleman was using physical things, so I wanted to use a physical example before I got to the moral relative. That's all. But that's okay.
You said moral relativism is what proves it. Just focus on that.
Right. The God of the Bible believes in morality. And from what I talk to a lot of my atheistic friends, so they say you don't need the Bible, or you don't need a God or any type to teach you moral relativism. It's kind of fluid. So I ask
what is moral relativism, Effram? Effram, what is moral relativism?
It is the morality that is an ebb and flow, meaning that people don't want to define it like God defines it. They define it based upon whatever relative nature they, or wherever they are relatively in life.
Hold on. Moral relativism is just saying that there is no one true moral good or moral wrong. People determine morality because it is a subjective thing, which is like unbelievably true. But like, if you're, so you're saying that God is the moral compass, and because of this, God must be true.
That's exactly the claim. Yeah, right. That's because number one, I've read the Bible and I've studied it. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying I accept God's.
But what about all the immoral things in the Bible? What about all the immoral things in the Bible?
I'm trying to make a point, but you keep cutting me off.
Because we don't have a lot of time here, Effram. We are running against the clock. So I specifically have 5 minutes. So God, how do you? Thank you. It is my show. How do you contend with all of the immoral things that God does in the Bible?
Okay, but I'm saying God is the one that defines what is moral and what is not. That's my premise statement.
Okay.
So let's say stealing. Let's say stealing.
Okay, I know what you're. I get. You don't need to expand because when you say your sentence, God decides. I know. You don't have to expand on that. I understand what that one singular sentence means. Okay. Right? We're really short on time. God decides what is morally good and what is morally wrong. How do we contend?
Right. And I prove, and what I can prove to it is that you agree with it.
No, I don't.
I'm saying I can prove that you agree with it.
I don't.
Well, let me give you an example. Meaning that, do you think theft is wrong? Stealing is wrong. But
no.
Do you believe in survival? Okay, so
I don't believe theft is wrong all the time.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't believe theft is always wrong.
The concept is amoral, but how you perform theft is what would be moral or immoral.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that I get to decide what it is, and so do you, right? So what you're saying is I get to decide. Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying you get to decide what it is, depending time and space, and then I also get to decide as well. But here's the problem.
Effram,
both of us can't be right. Both of us can't be right.
Effram, answer me this question: Is Robin Hood immoral?
Oh, you don't even have to go that deep.
The point.
I'm saying
to you, he probably is. No. I'm just trying to make a simple. If you give me 5 seconds, I'll explain to you.
Bro, just tell me, do you think Robin Hood is immoral? Yes or no? Does Effram believe Robin Hood is immoral?
It's not. You don't get to tell us what's irrelevant if it's our line of questioning. You don't know whether it's relevant or not. You don't know where we're going.
But I'm saying you don't even want me to speak.
We're asking you questions and then giving you room to speak, and you're not answering them. You're trying to preach, is what you're trying to do. You're trying to
I'm not.
Stop. You're done. I'm muting you because you can't help yourself. I will unmute you when it is time for you to answer a question. You are trying to get all the points out. This is last show. We weren't able to. We had a person who accused me, who is long-winded, of gish galloping. Long-windedness is not gish galloping. Gish galloping is scattershot. I'm going to say this and this and this and this and this and this, and I'm going to try and get in as much as possible. The reason why we keep interrupting you and trying to direct the call is because you don't know how to actually debate or have a conversation. And there is a thing where we can kind of go back and forth called the Socratic method, where we most effectively get to a point by asking you a series of questions. And then we can demonstrate whether or not what you said is true, consistent, whatever else. And the scattershot approach that you're trying to do is what gish galloping actually is. And it is so frustrating to try and deal with. He was trying to give you the Robin Hood example. I don't even think it's that hard. If you're going to say that, well, I'll let before it's better.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Effram, do you think me and Jimmy, this is our first time doing this? We know this argument. We've had this argument that you're currently having hundreds of times.
Question now. If you want me to answer the Robin Hood question, I can answer, and I'll tell you why I'm saying it's irrelevant.
No, you don't get to answer why you think it's irrelevant, because that will be to prevent us from. No, stop. You won't. No, there is no letting me finish. You don't get to say, I'm going to answer and tell you why it's irrelevant, because it is a line of questioning. You don't know whether it's irrelevant because you don't know what point we plan to make dependent on your answer. So you can either participate in the Socratic method or kindly fuck all the way off. This is not a platform for you to gish gallop and just say as much stuff as you can and try and scatter out. You can either participate in the line of questioning or for real, all the way to the sun is how far you can fuck off.
I mean, I have
Effram?
60 seconds.
The way you talk to me is as if you would say that to me if you were in my face. I haven't been rude to you.
Effram, I would say it directly to your face and have said it to other people in their faces if they don't let me talk.
I know you believe that you would.
Yeah, great. Effram, the only reason you're bringing that up, great, Effram, the only reason you are bringing that up, and I'm having to mute you again, is because you think that you will be physically intimidating to me and that I would take a threat of violence and silence the speech I want to say, which is sort of a fascisty way to think, and I don't give a fuck. You don't scare me on the phone. You wouldn't scare me in real life. Even if you do the violence. It's basically an implicit threat you're trying to put out there, all to avoid to just answer Jovan's simple question. And Jovan now only has a few more moments left, so we'll see if you can do it. Otherwise, fuck off. Sorry, I didn't unmute correctly. Go ahead, Jovan.
Yeah, I mean, my question was simple, and I'll just say the answer. If Robin Hood is bad, then morality being shaped by God, stealing, theft being bad, would mean that even stealing from a bad person, even stealing from someone that steals from you, even all of this stuff would be considered bad. I think that's a really shitty way to do morality, and I think that it would make God contradict himself in so many places. If you're saying Robin Hood is good for stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, which is the whole purpose of Robin Hood, he is the hero of the story, then you would agree that God's morality is not the end all be all, and God's morality is not like set in stone in the universe. That would be that's where I was going with that before, you refused to answer the question.
Okay. But the reason that I said it was irrelevant is not that the question in and of itself is irrelevant. I was trying to make another point. What I was saying is that either way, whichever one, if I believe one way and you believe in the other, or 1,000 people believe in one side that Robin Hood is right or Robin Hood is wrong, moral relativism suggests that we both are correct.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
And what I am saying is when someone says
it literally doesn't.
Well, yeah, it does, because moral relativism says things can change. Tomorrow you can think that black is good, and then the next day you can
just like God used to think slavery was.
But what I'm saying is that we both. No, what I'm saying is that both of us would be equally right and equally wrong. No, I'm
it doesn't.
As I head out, I'm just gonna say God also does this. God used to think slavery was okay. Now he's like, nah, we probably shouldn't do that. God used to think it was okay to kill a bunch of kids.
Right, but I'm not even debating that. What I'm saying is that
Jimmy, I'll see you later.
I'm saying, what if you're right?
So then if you put me into a one shot,
right.
Just get rid of the name
I'm
tag.
saying you're right, and I'm right too. That's impossible.
No, you're not.
No. I think you're missing my bigger point. I'm not debating whether or not you say God says slavery is good. Mm-hmm. I'm black. Slavery is good or slavery is bad. I'm not debating that. What I'm saying is that moral relatives suggest that depending on the point in time, something can be right and then it can be wrong, and we both be equally right. And we both are equally wrong.
No, it doesn't.
We both are equally wrong.
Absolutely not. Because what you're trying to say is just that if morality is subjective, then it's just up to a whim, which is not the case. The whole concept of moral relativism and subjectivity, I know it is, and it's wrong. Let me finish fucking talking, because you know I'm about to finish the point of why it's wrong, and I'm just restating your position first, and you will hear it. That is not the case. The case is morality is subjective. Therefore, everyone should defend it, and you should use faculties like logic and reason and that which is scientifically defensible. So therefore, the logic and the reason back then, while according to them it was correct, it was actually still wrong. Slavery was still wrong in the Bible. And sure, back then with less information, we may not have been able to see that it was wrong. Therefore, we would have declared it right. But the declaration of it being correct wouldn't mean it was correct. It would mean that that was the best we did. It would have been our failure. But slavery was wrong back then. By the way, people back then did figure it out. In fact, it was religious institutions holding it up. Slavery was wrong back then. It was wrong in the 1800s, 1700s, it's been happening in every century. And it's wrong now the way America does it in the current prison system. It was always wrong. What you are describing about moral relativism is not correct at all. And when it comes to literal facts of existence, where you want to talk about morality, that isn't a thing you get to be subjective on in morality. Either I have a bottle in my hand or I don't. Either God exists or he doesn't. And your proof that God exists was going to be moral relativism. My proof that God exists is that a God exists to declare that which is moral. That doesn't prove anything. It is circular reasoning. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and I'm not even interested in unmuting you. If you want to call and try again another time, we can try again. But goodness sakes, you need to go back and listen to your call. Look up what a Gish Gallop is, because this will be the call. When people accuse me of Gish Galloping, I'm going to point them to you and go, yeah, I'm long-winded. That is true. I don't do this shit. Fucking Effram.
If you like this debate and you want to see more debates like this, head over to the Lines page at QAnon Line or Jimmy Snow on the Line at Jimmy Snow.